Yeah.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone, to a fresh episode of the Rose Quartz Divorce Podcast, where we're offering alternative perspectives on divorce, breakups, and grief. I'm Diana D'Amato. I'm a meditation teacher, yoga teacher, entrepreneur, Pilates teacher, Ayurveda teacher, mom, and as of today, a general manager. So there's so much more to come. I'm checking in as very, very grateful.
And I'm Stephen J. Brice. I am a friend, father, entrepreneur, yogi, a lot of things. I'm happy to be here on this, to be a part of this conversation once more with my teacher. And I'm in good spirits, feeling good.
That's great. I'm always so honored when you call me teacher, Stephen, and I learned so much from you just by being part of your life. So thank you so much.
Uh,
But I do have a question.
sure.
Where'd you get that hat? Did someone make that for you?
Yes, yes. Shout outs to don't even remember her name, but she made me this hat and the scarf to match it.
Oh,
Yeah, I hope she doesn't see this episode because she might be offended.
well, you know what? We can tag her. I'll paste it in somewhere. I'll figure out a creative way if you can get it to
That'll
me.
get me in trouble.
Hold on to your hat. I'm about to get you into trouble. It's really, really beautiful. The colors are
Thank
great.
you. I
It
appreciate it.
suits you. It suits you. Okay.
Nice.
Well, yeah, I'll try to tag the creator of that beautiful knit, which if you're just watching us, you can't see. So maybe head on over to our socials. You can see us at Rose Quartz Pod on Instagram. And check out rosequartzdivorce.com for more information about Stephen, about myself. We have resources there and other ways for you to get involved, jump in with this community. We'd love to get some questions and feedback
Yes.
from anyone who's been following along. What we've been covering so far are the stages of grief, and we're on the fourth stage this week. Whew, we are really getting there, but
Mhm.
it is a heavy load. Even talking about grief, don't you find it
For
is
sure.
just, you know, that's why nobody wants to do it.
That part.
It reminds me when I was younger. There was this woman who was the mom of a friend of mine, and she was an author, and I wanted to write a book. And I asked this friend of mine, "Hey, could you like set me up a time to talk to your mom and pick her brain? I really want to write this book." And I met with her, and she said, first thing, she's like, "What do you want to write about?" And I said, I want to write a book called "When I Fell Down and How I Got Up," and it's about depression. And she just looked at me and went, "Nobody wants to read that."
Mm.
And I never wrote it. I never wrote it. I lived it, but never wrote it. But I think so. That's maybe 20, 25 years ago. We're living in a different time here in 2025,
For sure.
right? And we know that you got to feel it to heal it. And so let's talk about depression, the
For
fourth
sure.
stage.
For
Let's do
sure.
it.
For sure. Yeah, you know, my story, whenever I tell my story, I always share that 5 years of battling with depression and suicidal ideation, and that's how I stumbled onto yoga, because yoga became this modality or this space to help me cope with my then crisis. But yeah, I was going through the dark night of the soul, coming from seminary and my worldview falling apart, losing relationships and connections, like everything that that I knew to be true just came shattering down. And and so yeah, I was in a really nasty, dark, ugly space for 5 long years. And when I say, and I want to prepare folks for this conversation. Please protect yourself. Please take care of yourself. If this episode is a little bit too triggering, it's okay to not even listen or to watch, because this is, we might get deep and might get heavy, and we want to make sure that we care for our audience and our family members. But yeah, I didn't think life was worth living
Wow.
after a while, right? I felt like death was I was dreaming of death. Like death was so much easier, better than living at one point. So yeah, depression is a part of these topics that we're talking about, and we need to talk about it, right? And
Mhm.
I'm aware that 25 years ago it might not have been it wasn't culturally normal, and maybe in some ways it isn't, but I think we're getting better as a society, realizing that we need to talk about these things.
Mhm. Right, because if we don't, then like this hypothetical book that I was going to write would just be called "When I Fell Down." And that's the end. You just fall down. But the book I wanted to write was "And How I Got Up." You
That
know.
part, and I hope you write that book. Let me just say that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's everyone's story though, because even knowing you as well as I do, I didn't know that it was 5 years that you were struggling and suffering with depression, and I, in my own struggle with depression, it was lifelong. It was truly lifelong,
Mm,
and for some reason, I just didn't. You never think other people are, you think you're struggling the worst. You think it's like nobody else is this messed up kind of thing.
yeah. Yeah.
you know um but I just, I'm sorry that it was like that for you, and I feel for you, and just to kind of knit this into our conversation at Rose Quartz Divorce, first of all, I want to make it clear once again that these stages aren't necessarily going to come in order
Excellent.
as they are listed by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Uh, but they can come in that order, but they can be entered into at any point, right? And you might experience all of them, but maybe you start with depression, right? And then you go to anger or denial. So it's kind of like the 8 limbs of yoga for any yoga people listening. Like they may spontaneously go in order to a point, but everyone's process is unique, right? As we know
Excellent.
now, everyone's grieving is unique. So everyone's growth is unique. Everyone's personal development is unique. So with that in mind, though, I will say I find it interesting that on the list, um, depression comes after bargaining. So to me,
Mm.
it almost sounds like our bargains didn't work out. And what we're left with is depression, something we didn't ask for. Like, oh, gee, God didn't work, magic wand in your life,
Yeah.
magical thinking. Oh, it's a big letdown. So,
I'm glad you're situating this conversation in this context of divorce, right? You know, the, going through separation and divorce. One, you could be depressed within your marriage, feeling trapped, right?
mm,
And then to piggyback off of what you just said in terms of wanting to negotiate, situations with your spouse or whomever, and it's not working out in your favor, that could lead you to depression. And even post divorce, right? Post marriage, folks find themselves lost and sad and downtrodden. And so there are different angles in which we could we could kind of address uh, the experience, the lived experience of folks who experience depression, and that's why we exist. That's why Rose Quartz is here to
mm,
walk alongside everyone. Well, maybe not everyone, but like as many people as we can, because we've been through it
Mm-hmm.
and it sucks. Let me say that
Yep.
again for those in the back who can't hear me. We've been through this and it sucks
Oh, it was shitty. It was really,
for sure.
really shitty. Yeah. And, I feel like as a person who has experienced true depression, I don't use that word lightly, that it is part of me
Hmm.
now. It is, um, it's almost like dormant, and I have
Mm,
to do things in my life and for myself and around myself to keep it kind of, but that's okay. It's like any disease somebody might have. You're going to manage it to the best of your ability so you can live the fullest life possible.
for
That's how I
sure.
kind of see it now, but it
Yeah.
it it never really goes totally away.
That reminds me of what Michael Beckwith once said. Beckwith once said that if this depression, if this dark night of the soul were to last for the rest of your life, what virtues, what characteristics, what practices do you need to incorporate in your life to one help you cope with this lived reality, but then also number two to even thrive in the midst of it, right? And when I
Mhm.
started to think about that question, I thought of like yoga and I thought about cannabis and I thought about other things, right? And I
Mhm.
started to incorporate these things and it worked. It helps, right? It it doesn't it doesn't always fix the scenario. It doesn't always fix the condition or the mentality, but it becomes a companion on the journey. And for me it's humbling, right? It prevents me from getting puffed up. I don't want to over spiritualize it. I don't want to do that. But I just want to speak from my experience, at least from my perspective, and that of it allows me to be more sensitive and mindful and helpful to those who are going through or who are on that journey,
Mm.
right? And so this is what I do every day. I get to interact with people who are sad, who are going through shit. And because of the shit that I've been through and I go through, excuse my language, I get to sit with people. I get to be for others what I didn't have from in my life.
Mm, absolutely. And it's almost like by being that for others, we heal a part of ourselves. So this is stuff that I think we naturally want to pass on. If you find something that works for you, you find something that helps to manage a situation, then it's like light another candle,
Yeah.
kind of pass that on. And I think back a couple episodes ago, I mentioned, some advice that I had for people going through divorce and that are sort of stuck in the mire of these stages. And I'll say it again here is one of my biggest recommendations is get a new hobby.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why this is exactly why, because this is really nuanced, right? One, it's going to be something you can do. It'll take up your time. Maybe you're not ruminating so much because you're doing this new hobby and it's new, right? It's not a hobby of something you already can do. It's something you have to really focus on because you're learning,
For
right?
sure.
So there's that. Maybe you meet people. There's also that these are super positive, important things. But here's the nuance that is really the key for me is that when you're broken and hurting and depressed and your heart is just like so cracked and you're just vulnerable, you are so much more able to receive art
Mm,
than when you're full and busy and everything's great and you don't really have to look around. There is, I think, a real blessing in what people would call this, maybe the brokenness, I would say the softening of
mm,
something like depression, where music is going to feel deeper to you. Taking a walk in nature, everything's going to seem more meaningful or deep in some way. I know that, like, I read and wrote a lot of poetry um, in the deepest parts of my depression, and I look back and read back on what I was reading. That was like Dylan Thomas, right? I mean, does it get much darker? Um, and writing, my own tomes. And I look back now and it's just like, wow, like it's almost like Dylan Thomas doesn't make sense to me when I'm
Mm.
in, the state that I walk around in now most days, whatever, when oh, my puppy. Oh my gosh, my puppy just, like, sorry about that. She just pulled the wool out from under me.
Well, it's not funny, but it's kind of funny.
That was she's funny. But does that make sense? Do you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
for sure.
Like I read Dylan Thomas now and I don't have the same reaction. Like, I was just so in it. Everything was so deep and thick, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that, again, we're reframing things here. This is one of our goals, is to reframe situations,
Hmm.
like we did with, divorce. You've had a successful marriage, right? There
Yeah.
were successes along the way. We did that. Oh, my puppy. And I think there's an opportunity there with depression as well. Take it
For
away.
sure. And I want to piggyback off of something that you said that's so profound, where you mentioned how, you know, these activities, these day-to-day activities became so much more meaningful for you, more precious. And I cannot agree with you any more. Like when I say thank you, God, like I mean that. Like in the mornings when I wake up, a part of my morning routine is to walk around my place and simply say, God, thank you.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And when I say I effing mean that, I mean it.
Yeah.
When I look at my friends, my childhood friends, since knee high, all five of them, when I say I love them and I thank them for being with me and for me, I fucking mean that.
Yeah.
It's not cheap. My gratitude is not cheap. It comes from that which is expensive.
Mm.
Because I've been through some shit.
You earned it.
That part.
Mm.
So I feel that, man. Like everything that I do, where I'm led to gratitude, I mean it.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
could have done something different, which would have led me to not experience life as it is today.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And would have, meant that me and all the people around you wouldn't have the experience of Stephen, of you, being here too. So it's deep. It is deep,
For real.
and
For
I
real.
think you can only kind of feel that depth of feeling if you've been there. If you've
Yeah.
really, and that means allowing yourself to feel those feelings,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um, so yeah, I mean, I think back to, my life growing up, and there's this one series of childhood photos that someone took of me that they're black and white, and they're around my grandmother's house where I lived for a long time. And they're very, very sad. I look like the saddest little girl you've ever seen in your life. And I look at it and I'm like, you know, who, if I knew that child, I would step in. But,
Wow.
it's just, yeah, I'll have to find them and show them to you. But it
Wow.
is the saddest freaking thing you've ever seen. But I was sad. That is the
Mm-hmm.
thing. I think back, I did not have a joyful childhood. I didn't, I wasn't playing. I didn't giggle. I didn't, like, everything was really difficult, because, and I'm not sure if I've told this story, but I'm not sure if I've told it on here, but um, my mother passed away when I was 14 months old. She was a healthy, vibrant 24-year-old with no issues, no bad
Mm.
habits. And she just suddenly, tragically passed away in her sleep. And that's what I was told, that she died in her sleep, which was, the beginning of a lifetime of insomnia. Like, I know we like to give euphemisms when we talk to kids, but sometimes just saying things in a way they can understand is more helpful, because I
Right.
remember having, like, staring at the clock from when I can remember, staring at the clock in the middle of the night. And um, she and I were on a trip. So my dad was from Philly, my mom was from LA. We were living in Philly, but she took me home to LA to be with her family. And it was on that trip that she went to bed one Wednesday night and never got up. Um, so,
Wow.
yeah, we were in a town called La Puente, where she was from, a little town. It's near Los Angeles. But, one night she was there, and the next morning she was gone, just um, disappeared, just out from under me. Deepak Chopra, once I heard him describe, your mother is my first other. That's
Mm.
your, a lot of times people talk about finding their person in life.
Yeah.
Um, that's your person.
Yeah.
And her death rocked everyone. And I understand that the adults around me did everything they could at the time, but quite honestly, I was just left untethered. No one stepped in to save me. There was
Wow.
absolutely no responsible adult that took control of the situation and said, well, somebody needs to prioritize this child, like you would, or like I would, right?
Sure.
It just didn't happen. So I believe that this led to anxiety. I think it messed up my nervous system so bad, that my wiring was off from Jump Street, essentially. So I guess my question to you, or what I'm posing to you here, is: did you have, prior to your depressive episode, um, anxiety first, or do you notice any kind of correlation in your life with anxiety to depression?
I think so. I I think it's blurred with anger. I had anger. I was
Mm,
upset. I was furious at my denomination for not being fully honest and transparent with what they believed about God and faith and things like that. And so in mixed in with that was anxiety, because I was at a crossroad. Like, do I continue the path that was paved for me and assume the uniform that I've learned to not be authentic and true, or do I go on my path, my journey with God, and my path of being one of integrity? And so when I chose the latter, that's when I really fell into depression, because I was on an island all by myself, and I could have done some things better, for sure. Like, I should have done. I was young and arrogant, um, so I didn't necessarily have anyone who had the capacity to sit with me and to nurture me and to care for me. And maybe I wasn't receptive to that. I want to make sure I'm fair in my my remembrance of that time. So to answer your question more directly, I think I had yes to anxiety, but it was mixed into deep anger and frustration.
I mean, it's all, you know, a confluence of these things comes together for us to get to crisis in our lives.
Yeah.
And whether it's the loss of somebody through death, actual death, whether it's the loss of somebody through divorce or difficult breakup with a partner, or what you're describing is a loss of somebody, right? That it who could be closer to you than my first other, than mother, than my God.
Yeah. Mm. We should talk about that one episode.
I wonder if this is a mother father situation too.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Ooh.
For sure. I felt God left me too.
Mm, I get that. And my suicidal ideation, which again, just to, people take care in listening, but I will be transparent and open
Hmm.
and say that I first attempted suicide at 14, the tender
Mm.
age. Um, and then again at 28, think, and no one would have ever guessed, that kind of thing. And the feeling was something you said earlier in this recording reminded me. I wanted to go where I thought I knew more people.
Mm.
I thought I had more friends there, more support wherever my mom was. And
Mm.
then my grandpa had passed, and other people, that I knew I had a lot of people lost. And I thought, like for some reason that was the answer, right? To
Yeah.
go there. So I truly understand when people are on their knees and just feel like there's no way out, and it's so hard to make sense of.
Yeah.
When you're in that place, like it's almost like an altered state, like you've entered another dimension, because obviously you don't want to hurt anyone. Nobody wants to do that. You're really in a state where you think it would be better off for everyone if you did this thing,
Yeah.
and it hurts me a
Wow.
lot, yeah, when people say like suicide is a selfish thing, because I
It's-
just feel like that got who said that and why did it
who's
catch
yeah,
on?
yeah.
Because I feel like people who are in that much pain are trying to make it easier for other people in their minds. Like that's what's motivating them. They think they're in the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, I thought I was in the way for sure.
Mm.
Um, but if I can, well, I really want to piggyback off of what you just said,
Hmm.
and we'll probably have to talk offline first before I even say something like this.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, I'm on the,
but
I'm on the, I'm on, I got the lip sweat. I'm on the verge of tears.
yeah,
My God,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So,
Well, let me say let me just be
hmm
honest. When I think about those, so I'm not advocating for anyone to commit suicide. I'm not. So
mm,
like, can you all? I want to make sure everyone hear me when I say that. Um, but when I reflect on the act of committing suicide from a psychological standpoint, one perspective, it could be one perspective, just an opinion, it could be that it's almost an act of bravery.
hmm
Again, I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying,
No, it's not like it would be easy, I mean, I understand where you're coming from with this, and I think maybe in different times people just signed up to go to war. They signed up to be, certain kind of jobs or whatever, where it was high risk, or that took a lot of courage. It took a lot of, I understand where you're going with this. And it is like a really sensitive, like, again, nuanced is the word I want to
Mhm.
use. It's like,
For
what are
sure.
we saying? Because listen, you and I, we've just poured our hearts out here.
Yeah.
I think in terms of how we live our lives, we're two of the bravest motherfuckers out there.
For sure.
I mean, I'm just saying,
For
like, I
sure.
have that in me. You
For
have
sure.
that in you.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I get the angle you're coming from, but what I think we would say is stay tethered, stay anchored, stay here.
For sure.
1 foot on the ground, right? Is what they teach in yoga. I used to always teach this because the Hindu deities, when you see them pictured seated, they'll have 1 foot in lotus pose, one leg in lotus pose, and 1 foot on the ground.
Hmm.
Right. And it's like, that's the thing. It's like, you're here, you got to stay here and finish this. Right. But I,
Yeah.
I get it. And it is going to be hard and it is going to be deep. And, I mean, you can transcend though and still stay here. My daughter watches this psychic on YouTube named Kelsey Davies. And she'll be like, "Hi, Kel Cats. It's Kelsey Davies. I'm a psychic medium." And she has these like haunted dolls and dowsing rods. And anyway, so I entertain it. And we watch this, and she talked about recently how she achieved enlightenment, right? So I'm watching this, and it's like, what is she, like 25 or something? I don't know. And she's like, and she's so serious. You know what I mean? She's just like, I don't know. She meditated in Thailand or something. And, I'm cleaning while this is going on. Lorraine's like riveted watching this thing. And then she says to me later, she's like, "Mom, have you achieved enlightenment?"
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Ask yourself that question. This will be our thing for the question that I'm asking you today. The weird thing that I bring up to like, bring us toward our closure here is: have you achieved enlightenment? I mean, there's this girl on YouTube, just absolutely confident, and God bless her. She's achieved enlightenment. I will say, I know that in my darkest hour, I was the most open, the most wide open, the most ripped, torn, shattered, beyond this human form that
For sure.
so.
I will, for me, I will say to a large degree, yes. Because it wasn't until I hit rock bottom where I was reintroduced to who Steven really is. And I had to make a really important life decision at that point. Do I continue to be who others want me to be? Or do I just be Steven Jack Brice? And all of his complexities, his beauty. Do I just be Steven? And I chose to be Steven.
Oh my God. Oh my God, you just blew my mind. Yeah. Yeah. Because that's what you were sent here to do. Not some
Yep.
job, not some, car, bank account, all those things,
Hmm.
impress anybody. Your function is to be Stephen.
Yep.
And when we are out of line with our function, that's when, mm,
Yep.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so
Oh,
to our listeners who are relating to our conversation or might be going through a dark period, please hear my words carefully. It gets better.
mm-hmm.
It will get better. Just hang on.
Well, I can't think of anything better to say than that to tie this up. Thank you so much. It's just wonderful to be able to speak with you. And I love how the energy and the spirit just moves when we open these conversations.
Absolutely, for
I'm
sure.
so
Shout outs
grateful.
to Josh. Shout outs to all of our
Yes, Joshua Bright,
partners.
thank you for the music. Thank you, everyone. We'd really love to hear from you. We're
Yeah,
planning more things coming on the website, so make sure you get on there, sign up for our newsletter. We'd like to do some in person meetups as well. So check us out and look for us on all of your socials as well. And Stephen and I have started popping up live. So make sure you
yeah.
find us. All
Stay tuned.
right, stay tuned. We got
It's gonna be fun.
a lot more to say. Yes. So that's all for now for Rose Quartz Divorce. Thank you all so much for listening.
Peace.
Ciao.